All right, so you want to learn how New Yorkers can like actually coexist with rats. Which sounds a little crazy,
A
right?
little bit.
But trust me, this is going to be a fascinating deep dive.
Definitely.
We're talking about a city with millions of these little guys running around.
Millions and millions.
And we're going to really break it down.
Yeah.
We've got some articles here,
Right.
some real in-depth looks at the world of NYC rats.
Cool.
So first off, we got to address the elephant in the room, or maybe the giant rat in the room.
Right.
You've probably heard that old myth about 5 rats for every person in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, that's been debunked. But still, one study from 2014 estimated around 2 million rats.
Wow.
And a newer one in 2023 suggests it might be closer to 3 million.
3 million?
Makes you wonder how they even counted them.
Well, it is incredibly difficult to get an accurate count.
Oh, I bet.
Rats are elusive.
Yeah.
They're nocturnal creatures.
Right.
They're not exactly lining up for a head count.
That's true. But even if we're talking about a couple of million, that's still a lot of roommates. We didn't exactly invite to the party.
That's for sure.
So let's get to know our cohabitants a little bit better.
Okay.
We're talking about the brown rat.
The
Right.
brown rat. Yes.
What makes these guys such pros at city living?
Well, the brown rat, or Rattus norvegicus, is remarkably well-suited to urban life.
Okay.
Think about it. They can squeeze through holes the size of a quarter.
Really?
Imagine trying to fit through something that small.
Oh my gosh.
And that's not all. They can jump 4 feet horizontally.
Wow.
And survive a fall from 5 stories.
5 stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a superpower.
I know, it's incredible.
They're like tiny parkour experts.
Exactly.
Clipping and bounding through the city.
They are.
Wow. And are they good swimmers too?
They are incredible swimmers.
No way.
They can tread water for days.
Really?
Which is helpful considering the city's sewer system.
Yeah, I'm going to say.
So yeah, these physical abilities combined with their aggressive nature have made them the dominant rat species in New York.
Interesting.
They've even outcompeted the black rat, which used to be more common.
So they're like the kings of the city.
Pretty much.
It sounds like they've really got this whole city survival thing down to a science.
They do.
But what are they actually living off of? I mean, it's not like they're ordering takeout, right?
You'd be surprised how little they need to survive.
Really?
Just 1 ounce of food and water per day can keep a rat going.
Wow.
And they're incredibly resourceful when it comes to finding those scraps.
Okay, so basically our garbage is their feast.
Essentially, yes.
Yike.
Think about all the food waste generated in a city like New York.
Right.
It's a constant source of sustenance for rats.
Yeah.
And they've adapted to our habits.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
They know when and where to find those overflowing trash bags and discarded food containers.
So they're watching us.
They are pretty observant.
Wow.
They even create what we called rat highways.
Rat highway.
Established routes they use to navigate the city and access food sources.
Huh. I never thought about that.
These highways often follow our infrastructure like pipes and subway lines,
Makes sense.
allowing them to move undetected.
So they're like little ninjas.
Kinda, yeah.
That's both impressive and a little bit creepy.
I know, right?
So they're using our city like a giant all-you-can-eat buffet.
Pretty much.
And we're not talking about the fancy kind either.
No, not exactly.
So how do we even classify this relationship?
Well, that brings us to an interesting point. This relationship between humans and rats is what we call commensalism.
Commensalism.
Yeah, it's where one species, the rat, benefits, while the other us is neither significantly harmed nor helped.
Hold on. Are we really saying that rats don't actually harm us? I mean, I've seen some pretty gnarly things in the subway.
Well, let's not downplay the health concerns associated with rats.
Okay.
They can carry a variety of pathogens.
Right.
And given their close proximity to us, it's something we need to be aware of.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got these highly skilled, super adaptable roommates basically living off our scraps.
Right.
And while they might not be like directly harming us, like a predator prey thing,
Yeah.
there are some health risks involved.
For sure.
What exactly are we talking about here?
Well, a 2014 study by Columbia University revealed a pretty wide range of pathogens present in New York City, rats.
Okay.
Some of these had never even been documented in the city's rat population before.
Wow, really?
We're talking about things like E. coli salmonella rat bite fever.
Oh,
They even found evidence of bacteria that can carry bubonic plague and typhus.
whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Bubonic plague.
Still around in small pockets.
I thought that was like a medieval thing.
Well, it's very rare these days.
Okay, good.
But yeah, it just goes to show you the range of potential risks.
So it's not just about avoiding getting bitten by a rat, right?
Exactly. It's also about their droppings, urine, and even their shed hair.
Oh, yup.
These can trigger allergies and asthma, especially in children.
That's scary.
So while complete eradication might be unrealistic,
Right.
understanding these risks is a critical part of figuring out how to coexist.
Okay, so maybe peaceful coexistence is a bit of a stretch.
Maybe.
But we can at least aim for a healthy coexistence, right? Where do we even begin?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
And I think the first step is shifting our mindset.
Okay, how so?
Instead of viewing this as a war against rats,
Right.
we need to approach it as a game of strategy. We need to outsmart them.
I like that. So it's less about brute force and more about understanding their behavior
Exactly.
and adapting our own practices to make the city less hospitable to them.
Precisely. And the good news is New York City actually has some excellent official guidance on this.
Oh, really?
Think about the classic advice, keep it clean and keep it sealed.
Okay.
That means proper garbage storage using those sturdy metal trash cans
Right.
instead of flimsy plastic bags that rats can easily tear through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It also means taking out the trash right before pickup, so it's not sitting out all night attracting a feast.
So no more leaving those half-eaten pizzas on the curb.
Well, I wouldn't recommend it, but on a more serious note, the city's rat action plan actually goes even further.
Oh, wow.
They're advocating for things like eliminating unnecessary water sources,
Okay.
maintaining building integrity to seal off entry points,
Right.
and avoiding practices like feeding birds and wildlife that might inadvertently attract rats.
That makes sense. We're essentially taking away their food and shelter,
right.
making the city less appealing to them.
Exactly. We want to create an environment where they have to work harder to survive,
Okay.
hopefully encouraging them to move elsewhere.
So we're talking about a combination of individual responsibility
Uh-huh.
and citywide efforts.
Yeah.
But let's be real, even with the best intentions, sometimes things just get out of control. I mean, we've all heard those crazy stories, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
Remember that infamous Taco Bell KFC overrun by rats back in 2007?
Oh, yeah.
Or that unfortunate man who fell into a rat-infested chasm after a sidewalk collapsed?
No way.
Yeah, it was a whole thing.
And don't forget Pizza Rat.
Oh, yeah, how could we forget Pizza Rat?
That little guy became a viral sensation dragging a whole slice of pizza down the subway stairs.
It was amazing.
These anecdotes, while sometimes amusing, do highlight the challenges of coexistence.
For sure.
And they also point to a bigger issue, the need for systemic change.
Absolutely.
What do you mean by that?
Well, are these just isolated incidents, or are they symptoms of deeper problems?
I see what you're saying.
Perhaps there are flaws in our urban planning and waste management systems
Okay.
that inadvertently create ideal environments for rats to flourish.
So it's not just about individuals taking action, it's about addressing the root causes at a city level.
Exactly. We need to move beyond simply reacting to rat infestations.
Right.
And start proactively creating a city that's less hospitable to them in the first place.
Okay.
And that requires a multi-pronged approach involving both individuals and the city government.
That makes sense. But I have to ask, is it even possible to achieve a truly harmonious relationship with rats in a city like New York? I mean, can we ever really get past the fear and disgust that many people feel?
It's a complex question, and I don't think there's an easy answer.
Yeah.
But perhaps instead of focusing on eliminating them entirely, we could shift our perspective.
What do you mean?
What if instead of seeing rats purely as pests,
Yeah.
we recognize their role in the urban ecosystem?
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more.
Well, they actually play a part in decomposition.
Really?
Think of them as nature's cleanup crew breaking down organic matter.
Huh. I never thought of it that way.
And they also serve as a food source for other urban animals like owls and hawks.
So they're part of the food chain even in the concrete jungle.
Exactly.
So you're saying that maybe a healthy coexistence isn't about eradication,
All right.
but about managing the population in a way that minimizes risk to humans
Mm-hmm.
while also acknowledging their place in the ecosystem.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where both species can thrive without undue harm to each other.
That's a good way to put it.
It's a challenging but potentially rewarding goal.
Challenge accepted. But before we get too carried away with our newfound appreciation for rats, maybe we should take a step back and review the key takeaways from our deep dive so far. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from understanding the sheer number of rats we're dealing with,
Yeah.
to their incredible survival skills,
Right.
their potential health risks,
Uh-huh.
and even their unexpected role in the urban ecosystem.
It's fascinating stuff.
It is. But let's bring it back to you. What does all this mean for someone living in New York City?
Well, it means that coexistence with rats is an ongoing process.
Okay.
It's about being aware of their presence,
Right.
taking steps to minimize risks,
Hmm.
and maybe even challenging our own assumptions about these creatures.
So it's less about living in fear and more about being informed and proactive.
Exactly. Remember those practical tips we discussed?
Yeah, like what again?
Proper garbage disposal,
Right.
seal-in entry points,
Uh-huh.
being mindful of things that might attract rats.
Okay.
These are all crucial steps you can take as an individual.
Right.
And don't forget about the city's rat action plan.
Oh, yeah.
They're really pushing for a more proactive, data-driven approach to managing the rat population.
So it's a combination of individual actions and citywide efforts.
That's right.
But even with the best plans in place, we're still going to encounter rats from time to time, right?
Probably, yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality of living in New York.
It is.
So how do we deal with that?
Well, instead of seeing those encounters as failures,
Yeah.
what if we viewed them as opportunities?
Okay.
Opportunities to learn, adapt, and refine our strategies.
Interesting.
Maybe that means being more vigilant about checking for signs of infestation in our buildings.
Okay.
Or perhaps it means advocating for better waste management practices in our neighborhoods.
I like that. It's about turning those you moments into aha moments.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe as we become more attuned to rat behavior, we'll even develop more effective ways to coexist.
It's possible.
Perhaps we'll find ways to appreciate their resilience and resourcefulness,
Huh.
even if we never quite reach the point of wanting to invite them over for dinner.
Okay, I'll admit, inviting them over for dinner is still a bit of a stretch for me.
I get it.
But I do appreciate the shift in perspective. Instead of seeing them solely as a nuisance, we can start to view them as a complex and fascinating part of the urban ecosystem.
That's the beauty of a deep dive like this, isn't it?
What is?
It challenges our preconceived notions and encourages us to see the world around us with fresh eyes.
Well said. So as we wrap up this exploration of NYC rats, what's the one thing you hope our listener will take away from this deep dive?
I hope they'll remember that coexistence with rats in New York City is possible, but it requires a combination of individual action, community engagement, and a willingness to see these creatures as more than just pests. It's about finding a balance that allows both humans and rats to thrive in this incredible, complex urban environment we call home.
And maybe invest in a good pair of thick-soled boots just in case.
Good idea.
Thanks for joining us on this Rattastic Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration of the world around us.